Masha and the Bear is a cartoon story that is loved not only by children but also by adults. This cartoon story has been shown in Russia since 2009. When those stories started to be released, you will often hear Russian languages. You know that this cartoon story was only made for children in Russia to watch. However, much to the producer's surprise, the cartoon became so popular that it spread around the world, and even 42 languages were used in the cartoon and continued to be successful. In today's video, Masha and the Bear is a little story that no one has told about the Russian girl Masha. From this little girl, a story has become a story, and Masha and the Bear has become an animated story. In the story Masha and the Bear, Masha is a very active girl and a very teasing girl. All the animals in the forest are afraid of Masha's teasing and hide. One day, Masha came to play in a small hut, but in that hut lived a bear who performed in the circus. Now the bear has retired. When the bear returned to his house, he saw all the things scattered around his house. In his tent, he saw Masha playing with the things in a mess. The bear tried various ways to get Masha out of his house, but Masha came back in one way or another. Just like that, Masha and Bear gradually became close. They lived happily in the forest. This is a story that everyone knows. The story of the real girl Masha, a Russian story, is different from this story. In this story, a girl named Masha lived with her grandparents in a small village. As usual, Masha and her friends went into the forest to pick some berries and mulberries. Masha asked her grandfather for permission to go into the forest with her friends as usual. Her grandfather gave her permission, but Masha was also told to take care of the bear in the forest and stay together forever without going far from her friends. Masha and her friends also went to the forest and they were picking berries as usual, but after a while, Masha did not see her friends and she became alone. Then Masha started calling her friends' names, but she could not hear anything except the birds in the forest, and slowly fell dark, and she saw a small house. Masha thought it was just an ordinary hut and entered the hut. While she was looking for the owner of the hut, a bear entered the hut from outside. Masha immediately realized that it must be the bear that her grandfather told her about. This hut belonged to that bear. Masha also tried to leave the hut immediately, but the bear refused to give it to her and told Masha that Masha was going to be his food. Masha was very afraid of the bear and told the bear that if she didn't eat him, she would make delicious and good food for him every day. Masha was very sad because she escaped from the bear's hands, but she didn't get out of the bear's hands for good, and she realized that it would take a lot to escape from this bear. That's why he made the bread he made and fed it to the bear every day to keep him safe. Every morning, the bear searched for the ingredients Masha needed to make bread with fresh fruits and eggs, and threatened Masha again that if she tried to escape while she was not at home, she would tear her to pieces and eat her. One day, Masha came up with a good idea to escape from the bear. One morning, Masha was making a lot of bread. When the bear came back, Masha asked the bear for permission. That is, she asked for permission to send some bread for her grandparents to eat. After sending it, she promised to go back with the bear, but the bear did not allow it. And if you want to send the bread, the bear tells Masha that he will send it himself. Masha made her promise not to eat any of the bread she gave him and not to open the basket on the road. Then he warned her that she would climb a tall tree and watch over the bread in the basket. He also promised that if he opened it for any reason, he would be released. After the bear agreed to everything Masha said, Masha started preparing to give bread to her grandparents. At the same time, the bear went outside the hut to see the weather before going to the village. Masha took the opportunity to go into the bread basket and cover the bread basket once. The bear didn't realize it at all, but he easily left the bread basket and left for the village. When he was halfway there, the bear got tired and sat down by a big tree to rest. and the bear was very hungry, so he took some bread from the bread basket and ate it. But before he could open the basket, Masha's voice warned him not to open the basket, and he remembered that the bear had told Masha that he would watch him from the tree, which was Masha's warning. Even though the bear's mind had travelled so far, he was surprised that Masha knew and saw everything he did. Just then, the bear did not open the bread basket and continued on its way to reach the village quickly, but what the bear did not notice was that there were guard dogs at the entrance of the village. Soon the guard dogs surrounded the bear, and after the bear dropped the bread basket, it ran away. Masha's grandfather also heard the barking of the dog and immediately came out and found Masha in the bread basket. This story is a Russian story of Masha and the bear. Masha and the bear cartoon characters are also modeled after Masha and the bear from this story, but this is a story in a true story. It happened in a circus show around 1820. A traveling circus show came to the small village where a girl named Masha lived. Masha also wanted to see the circus and Anatoly, the best bear in it. When Masha forced her moms to go to the show, Masha's moms had to send her to the circus. Unfortunately, Anatoly the bear, who Masha wanted to see at the circus, did not come. Masha also didn't watch the circus until it was over and went out in a bad mood. At that time, she saw a bear in an iron cage. Masha wanted to open the cage and play with the bear. In her mind, she thought that the bear should be played with because it is not an animal raised by people. Unfortunately, she also found the key to open the cage door. At the same time, Masha also opened the cage door. After opening it, the bear in the cage scratched Masha. Masha was also killed by the big bear's claws and her stomach was opened. At that moment, due to the bear's screams, the guards arrived and arrested the bear using its hunting weapons. Because of this incident, Masha's story once again spread among the people, and she explained to her children that bears are dangerous prey and cannot play with them. The bear in the movie Masha and the bear will also be aware of the circus and the honorifics and the circus. The reason for this is that this story is based on a real incident and story that came from those terrible events. Long story short, Masha was killed by a bear in the circus, after which her guilt-stricken parents became depressed. This tragic story inspired Masha's character to be animated. The film Masha and the Bear was created to commemorate Masha's appearance in the real world. The main character in the film is none other than the real Russian girl Masha herself. So Masha and the Bears are the story would like to end just like that. We will regularly present the most interesting stories, so subscribe to the channel and press the bell so you don't miss it. I will be back with another doc story.